Welcome, my friends. What if I told you the man who created Hyundai once worked barefoot on muddy fields? He never went to college and was so poor he couldn't afford a train ticket. He ran 120 kilometers on foot just to chase a dream. This is not fiction. This is real life. Today, you'll hear the story of a boy who had nothing and built everything. He had no money, no education, no power, but he made one life-changing decision. He decided to never stop trying. Why listen to this story? It teaches you how to fight when life hits hard, how to believe when nobody believes in you, how to stand alone when doors close. This story can also improve your English. How? You are not just watching English. You are feeling it. Living inside a story. That is the secret to fluency. Not grammar books or boring lists. Real stories, real emotion, told in clear, simple English. Listen closely. This story might not just teach English. It might change your life. Let's begin the story of the man who started it all. Part 1. The boy who had nothing. The year is 1915, in a small village in North Korea, before Korea was divided. A boy named Chung Ju-yong is born into a family of farmers. They grow rice and live in a straw roof house. Food is simple, sometimes scarce. Chung is the eldest son, so he must help in the fields every day. No shoes, no toys, no time to dream. From age 7, he carries water, cuts grass for cows, and helps plant rice. His father is strict. He believes in one rule: work hard, don't dream. But Chung was different. He wanted more. As a child, he stared at the mountains, thinking, is this all there is to life? At around 14, he had a dream. He wanted to study, learn math, and become a teacher. He secretly left home to enroll in school, but his father found him. Stop dreaming, his father said. Dreams don't feed hungry mouths. This was the first time life told him to stay small. But something inside Chung refused. A few years later, he tried again. He left home with little money and a big dream. This time he aimed for Seoul, the city. He didn't have a train ticket, so he ran 120 kilometers on foot. No phone, no food, only belief that there was more beyond the rice fields. In Seoul, he found a construction job. He worked with bricks and cement from sunrise to sunset. His hands bled, his back hurt. But every night he told himself, one day, I will not just build houses. I will build something much bigger. After months, he saved money and opened a tiny rice shop with a partner. One day, the partner stole all the money and disappeared. Chung lost everything. Many would return home, but not Chung. What? He wiped his tears and said, money can be taken, but not my fire or vision. He started over from zero. Over the years, he worked any job he could find. Bricks, salt delivery, fixing bikes, cleaning shoes. He watched, listened, and learned, not from books, but from life. Slowly, he understood business, people, and how to earn respect, not just money. By the 1940s, Chung opened a small construction company, building roads and repairing bridges. Even the government began noticing his work. After World War II, Korea was broken and divided. But Chung saw opportunity where others saw ruins. Step 1. In 1946, at 31, he officially started his company. He named it Hyundai, which means modern in Korean. A man who grew up barefoot in rice fields started a company called Modern. Hyundai first built roads, bridges, and small buildings. Most would say, "We are too small for big projects," Chung said. "We are small because we never take big projects." He took risks, hired smart people, and watched everything closely. He visited sites, talked to workers, checked every brick, every stone. If you build something, it must be strong enough to carry the future. In 1950, the Korean War began. North versus South. Cities burned. Thousands died. Many businesses closed, but not Chung. He didn't run. He didn't shut down Hyundai. He thought, "The country will need roads and buildings again, and I will build them." He worked with the government to rebuild key infrastructure. His workers were not just laborers. They were rebuilding their homeland. Hyundai became stronger as a company and a trusted name. In the 1960s, the government challenged him. Build a bridge over the Han River. Hyundai had never built a bridge before. Others laughed. He has no degree. He's not a bridge builder, they said. Chung said, "If we keep saying we can't, we'll never learn how to do it." He took the project, gathered engineers, studied blueprints, visited bridges worldwide. Every day, he stood by the river, planning and correcting. After 4 months, the Han River Bridge was completed. The same people who laughed now stood in silence. A rice farmer's son had built one of Korea's most important bridges. The bridge was a symbol. South Korea is rising, and Hyundai is part of that rise. After the bridge, Hyundai's reputation exploded. The government trusted him more. He built highways, dams, ports, shipyards. But Chung remembered being a poor boy with no shoes. He wanted more than money. He wanted transformation. He decided Hyundai would not just copy the world. They would create it. Hyundai would now build ships. No technology, no expertise. But Chung smiled. "Then we'll learn, we'll start, we'll try," he said. He met British shipbuilders and convinced them to partner. He studied shipyards and bought land in Ulsan, a fishing village. "This place will become the heart of Korea's industrial future," he said. People thought he was mad. But by 1974, Hyundai launched its first major ship. Hyundai became one of the top shipbuilders in the world. From mud to metal, from rice fields to global factories. Chung was no longer just building a company. He was building a dream factory. By the late 1970s, Chung had built roads, bridges, buildings, ports, and ships. But one thing was missing: cars. South Korea imported all its cars from Japan and the West. Chung asked a dangerous question. Why can't Korea make its own car? No one had an answer. So he decided to do it himself. Part 3. The man who dared to build a car. Chung Ju-yong, the boy who ran 120 kilometers barefoot, had now built highways, ports, and shipyards. He was admired, trusted, respected, but he was not satisfied. He remembered Korea importing cars and people saying Koreans could never build one. Car making was for rich countries with advanced machines and technology. But Chung believed in something else. His people. "We've built roads. Now we must build the wheels that run on them," he said. His team was shocked. "Cars? We don't have knowledge, engineers, or tools," they said. Chung replied, "Then we will learn. We will build the tools. We will train engineers." That is what Hyundai means. modern, he said. This was not just a business decision. It was a national decision. He wanted to build a car for Korea. In the early 1970s, Chung knew he needed experience to build a car. He flew to Britain and met George Turnbull, a top engineer from British Leyland. Turnbull was surprised. Why would a Korean businessman with no car company hire him? Chung did not beg or flatter. He simply showed his vision. I don't want to copy cars. I want to build something new. I want your help, he said. Turnbull was impressed. He agreed. Chung hired 5 top British engineers, experts in engines, design, and safety. They arrived in a country with dirt roads in many places. They asked, how will we build a car here? Chung gave them one thing: belief. You've built cars before. Now you are building history, he said. They had no fancy lab, no high-end machines, no luxury offices. Only one warehouse and a leader who refused to give up. It took years. The team faced hundreds of failures. Engines didn't fit. Parts broke during testing. Body design was too heavy. No company would sell them steel. But Chung never screamed or walked away. He asked, what did we learn? He believed failure is not the opposite of success. It is the path to success. In 1975, after long nights, arguments, and experiments, it happened. The Hyundai Pony was born, Korea's first national car. Small, affordable, simple. Not fast like a Ferrari, not fancy like a Mercedes, but proudly Korean. When the first pony was unveiled in Seoul, the crowd went silent. Then they clapped, cheered, and cried. We can do it. We are not small anymore. Creating the pony was just the beginning. The real battle began when Hyundai tried to sell cars outside Korea. Global companies laughed. Toyota, Ford, GM, Honda, Korean cars, please. They're toys, they said. But Chung had heard this before. When he built bridges, they laughed. When he built ships, they laughed. Now he was building cars. Again, they laughed. But he had a weapon they didn't expect: courage, discipline, and endless improvement. Hyundai started small, selling to Ecuador, Egypt, and Chile. Slowly, they entered Canada. In 1986, Hyundai entered the U.S. market with the Hyundai Excel. Affordable, fuel-efficient, easy to drive. Americans were curious. In the first year, Hyundai sold over 168,000 cars, a record. The same companies that laughed now worried. But success was not permanent. Some cars had engine and part problems. Customers complained. Newspapers called Hyundai a low-quality brand. Sales dropped. Respect vanished. Once again, Chung stood on the edge of disaster. His team panicked. Let's reduce production. If we are not willing to improve, we do not deserve success. Hyundai rebuilt everything. Quality checks, better materials, stronger testing. Let's not compete on price. Let's compete on pride, Chung said. Year after year, Hyundai improved. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, Hyundai had transformed. No longer cheap. Reliable, smart, well-built. The company that once couldn't build a single tire now won international awards. J.D. Power, safety, and design. In America, people said Hyundai is not just good for the money. It's a good car. Hyundai became a symbol of hope in South Korea. Whenever the country faced a challenge, Hyundai stepped in. We will do it, said Chung Ju-yong. By the 1990s, South Korea transformed from poverty to power, from survival to growth. Much of that growth had one thing in common: Hyundai's name on it. They were no longer just making cars. Hyundai was building dams, nuclear power plants, oil refineries, high-speed trains, steel mills, industrial parks, and container ships. They even built global expressways in South Korea's first satellite launch site. This was not by accident. This was Chung's mission. He believed copying the world only makes you second. But if you build the future yourself, you can lead. The Korean people began to believe too. Hyundai was no longer just a brand. It became a national symbol. Buying a Hyundai car meant buying confidence, pride, and hope. By the mid-1990s, Hyundai employed hundreds of thousands of workers. Steel, construction, design, shipping, electronics, and energy jobs were connected to Hyundai. Every job supported entire families. Chung knew his responsibility was bigger than business. Every factory we build feeds thousands of homes, he said. Business is not only profit, it is about people. In remote towns, Hyundai opened plants where there were no jobs. Graduating students with technical degrees found their first opportunity at Hyundai. This was more than success. It was impact. Even in his 70s, Chung kept visiting work sites. Wearing his gray suit and white helmet, he walked steel factories, ports, and shipyards. He talked to workers, asked questions, and made notes. He acted not like a king, but like a foreman. He still saw himself as the barefoot boy who cleaned bricks for a few coins. His hunger for growth never faded. In the late 1990s, in his 80s, he shocked the world again. He announced he would travel to North Korea. Remember, this was the same country that fought South Korea in the war. Most South Korean businessmen would never go. But Chung believed we are one people. We speak the same language. We must rebuild peace. In 1998, he crossed the border with 500 cows. Why cows? During the war, North Korea had taken cows from his family. Now he was returning the favor, not with anger, but with forgiveness. This was not just political. It was deeply human. News channels showed trucks filled with cows crossing the DMZ, led by an old man in a suit. It was powerful, emotional, unforgettable. In his final years, Chung stepped back from daily operations, but he never stopped thinking. His diary, written in simple Korean, was full of ideas and plans. He still visited offices, asked about projects, studied world markets. His body weakened, but his mind remained sharp. He knew time was short. He wrote letters to his sons, board members, and country. Never be satisfied with what you've built, he reminded them. Keep asking, what can we build next? In 2001, at 85, Chung Ju-yong passed away peacefully. The boy from the village was gone, but his legacy could never be buried. South Korea declared a national moment of silence. TV stations paused. Even competitors stood to honor him. Chung Ju-yong was not just a businessman. He was a builder of dreams. He proved you don't need a degree to change the world. You don't need permission to build something great. You don't need wealth to become the foundation of a country's pride. He started with nothing but dust on his feet and fire in his chest. He ended with factories, ships, highways, satellites, and the love of millions. Today, Hyundai travels on roads across the world. Us, India, Europe, Africa. Part 4. The Empire After the Builder and the Eternal Spirit of Chung Ju-yong. After his death in 2001, South Korea lost a father figure, a symbol of resilience. His funeral was attended by CEOs, workers, farmers, engineers, politicians, and ordinary people. Some brought flowers, letters, or tears. All knew without him their country's path might differ. The first months after his death were tense inside Hyundai. The empire was huge. Construction, cars, electronics, steel, and shipping. Who would lead? Would Hyundai survive? Even before his death, Hyundai was changing. The government introduced rules to reduce the power of large family-owned conglomerates called chaebols. Hyundai was asked to restructure. After Chung's death, his sons and executives made a bold decision. Hyundai would split into multiple companies, each with its own focus. Painful, yes, but necessary. Chung's dream was not one man holding everything. His dream was growth, innovation, and freedom. Hyundai split into Hyundai Motor Company, engineering and construction, heavy industries, shipbuilding, steel, car parts, trains, and military equipment. Slowly, each company began to stand on its own feet. After Chung Ju-yong passed, his companies honored him not by copying him, but by continuing his spirit. Hyundai Motors carried the deepest emotional weight. It was the car that made South Koreans believe in their own strength. After his death, Hyundai Motors began a massive transformation. People still remembered the old image. Hyundai cars were cheap, low quality. The company wanted to lead in the global market, not just survive. They invested in design, hiring top designers from Germany and the US. They developed hybrid and hydrogen-powered vehicles, improving technology. Safety became a priority, earning top crash test ratings. Hyundai rebranded from cheap and basic to smart and modern. Research centers opened in South Korea, the US, Germany, and India. Hyundai created the Genesis brand to compete with Lexus, BMW, and Mercedes. They entered Formula One racing, showing performance, not just reliability. By the mid-2010s, Hyundai was no longer a joke. It became a giant. Today, Hyundai sells in over 200 countries. Combined with Kia, it ranks among the top 3 car manufacturers worldwide. None of this would exist without the courage of one man. Universities around the world study his life. Business schools teach his leadership style. Leadership experts wrote books on his vision, responsibility, and courage. He led from the front, took impossible risks, and trusted effort more than talent. And he never forgot where he came from. He had no college degree, no investor, no engineering background. He built roads without studying civil engineering. He built ships without shipbuilding experience. He built cars without being an auto expert. He visited North Korea and reunited families without being a politician. Why? Because he believed in human potential. Today, his story is told not just as business, but as vision, grit, and humanity. Key lessons from his life: 1. You don't need permission to dream. Chung didn't wait. He chased trains, knocked on doors, failed, and kept moving. 2. Failures are not the end. They are training. He lost everything more than once, yet used each failure to grow. If you fear failure, you fear growth. 3. Help others rise as you rise. Chung created jobs, supported education, rebuilt communities. Real success is not how high you go, but how many people you lift with you. The most powerful tool is not money, it is character. People trusted Chung not because he was rich, but because he was honest. He kept his promises and faced mistakes openly. Even when Hyundai failed in America, he didn't hide. He said, "Let us improve. Let us do better." And they did. Many drive Hyundai cars today without knowing this story. They press the accelerator, play music, look out the window, unaware of the legacy. Some of us remember. We remember the boy from a poor village in North Korea. He was told not to dream, had no train ticket, ran barefoot chasing the future no one else saw. We remember his failures, how he got back up again and again. We remember how he built roads, ships, cars, and dreams. He didn't just change a country. He changed what people believed was possible. His real legacy is not just Hyundai factories or awards. His legacy is this truth: even if you are born with nothing, keep moving, keep building. One day, the world will drive on your roads, sail your ships, and believe in your story. That is the story of the boy who created Hyundai. Let this be more than a story. Let it be a message. If you have a dream, fight for it. If you face setbacks, rise again. If the world says you can't, remember this name: Chung Ju-yong. Reply to the world with his words. Have you tried? Today, Hyundai started with nothing, not even money for a train ticket. Now it is one of the world's largest companies. Hyundai is worth over $50 billion. Its cars run in more than 200 countries. Its factories give jobs to over 250,000 people worldwide. Hyundai builds advanced ships, including container ships, oil tankers, military vessels. Its luxury brand Genesis competes with BMW, Mercedes, and Lexus. All of this started with a boy who had no shoes. This is not just a story about a man. It is a story of what is possible. If life is hard, if you feel poor, alone, or small, remember Chung Ju-yong. If he could do it, why not you? And if you want more stories that inspire, teach English, and help you believe in yourself, subscribe. We don't just tell stories, we give you the courage to write your own.